Hey, Robert.
Hey, Greg, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Uh, the last couple of classes that we've had, the Heart and the Thousand Petal Lotus and Tuning into Your Divine Calm, are not the typical classes that I've been taking through Plant Prana.
Hmm.
These are more of the spiritual version of the healing rather than the symptomatic version.
Hmm.
And what drew me in initially to Plan Prana was the symptomatic stuff. I
Hmm.
don't want to call it eye candy, but it was. Oh, I could
Right,
work
right.
on this and
Yeah.
that.
I
And
like
now
that you call that eye candy.
right. But now I'm fascinated by the spiritual version of a healing.
Mhm.
And there's this part of me that says, when do I choose which and how do I approach it? And it's
So
not just
that's a
for me, it's for clients.
right. So I would say that a lot of times it's really just different parts of the same spectrum. Like if you look at like vagal tone, a milder form of vagal tone is stress. Oh, you're stressed out. And then you go deeper into and you go, wow, there's a lot of stress. And then you go, okay, your body is stress plagued. So then you start to go, okay, it's vagal tone. And then even past vagal tone, the practices of like working with the angels, especially in that process that we do, the universal angelic process, that's vagal tone on steroids. It's really a much bigger thing. And so, I would say even if it's a new person and they've done this kind of work before, I'd probably still start off with stress. And then as you unwind them a little bit, you go, oh, maybe we need to do a little bit deeper. Maybe we need to do some vagal tone work. And, then you start a little general. I'm just using this as an example. And then you go, okay, we got the general vagal tones getting good. Let's start getting spot specific. We know that you have areas, like we were talking about the liver earlier. We know you have areas in the liver, or, maybe you have urinary tract issues or frequency and urgency issues with a bladder. And so maybe we'll go a little deeper in vagal tone in that area. And then, as time goes by, the angel work will produce physical and psychological healings, but even that ability to like summon up like deeper levels of healing, like you could get it probably by working vagal tone, but it's going to be easier to access with the angels. And then even past that is then inner experiences and things of that nature. The angel work really takes you to a place that even just normal vagal tone couldn't get you. And so, if you look at the whole spectrum of it, you start off at stress and start to hit vagal tone, and then, it just kind of keeps going and going. And yeah.
Would you I have a potential client
Hmm.
just starting discussions yesterday and today.
Hmm.
This will take a while, I know that much. But already know that the condition she's seeking healing for isn't something that oils would directly work on a symptomatic level.
Hmm.
Uh, So part of my question is, can we just start at the angelic side and
Sure.
then
If they're open to it and their body can handle it, yeah, sure. Yeah.
uh,
And I would say
uh,
most people's body can handle it. The ones that really would have a hard time with it would be, you know, like around the office, we'd call it like a muggle off the streets. You know what I mean? Did you ever watch Harry
yeah,
Potter? Like, you take somebody who's just off the streets. It might be a little much, and their mind is so focused on the symptoms that you almost kind of have to dance with the symptoms a little bit, just to kind of keep them engaged.
to keep the mental
In
aspect away from the healing.
yeah, like I mean, this is going to be harsh, but a lot of times somebody like that, like you take somebody off the street, soon as it doesn't feel like it's just meeting the exact thing that they want to address right then, they're done. Like they're like, I'm not doing anymore. And so treatment is also educating them on what's happening and the degree that it's happening, and you're cultivating a kind of awareness in them that they don't have. And so it's not like you're just buying time. It's like it's even the idea of like, okay, tell me how you feel. How's your body feel? How's your shoulder feel? Did it last longer? Did it not be as intense? Did it go away quicker? You know, you kind of
Yes.
already know the answers, but you're helping them go, oh, yeah, you know what? It did not last as long and it wasn't as intense. And when it got aggravated, it went away faster. It went away on its own. And you already knew all those answers, but they didn't. And so you have to kind of go, okay, let's look at your body. Tell me about your body. What's going on? What's happening? How's your breath? You just kind of keep educating them on that. And, you know, sometimes they're not in the place for even that to happen. And so it's okay, maybe you help them in the next place that they land, and
Yes.
they get something out of it. But I always try to do as much as I can for somebody over a period of time. And like that, like when I mean, this is why it's kind of great to have these like things where we talk things out, is because people will come and go, this is what's going on, and you start asking questions and it's usually not even close. So, but if you start having a back and forth, you can kind of go through and start assessing like, oh, this is what's going on, and this is what needs to be addressed. And so even that is therapeutic. It just seems like you're gathering data, but even that is therapeutic, because part of the healing process is how they think about the situation. It's not just the situation, it's not just the symptoms, is you are kind of teaching them that they gotta like approach this and think about it a little bit differently. And you know I try to meet people where they're at, not like where I think they should be, but just where they're at. And so even the idea of stress for some people, like that idea blows their mind. So if you start talking to angels to that person, you're not going to get very far. But if somebody's kind of been around the block and they've been doing some things, and even if it's not been the stuff that we're talking about, and you go, hey, let's work with some angels, and they haven't experienced, they'll go, that's amazing. And
Right.
then they're more in. And so you kind of got to read your person a little bit.
I I think as I progress with this person, she'll probably come on study group to give her specifics and talk about what may happen and what we can do.
Hmm.
But part of me is like, I talked to, she's a computer customer of mine, and she talked about her medical condition. And I said, well, after we do this computer stuff, let's talk about it. I might have
Right.
something. And she sounded very open, very, because she knows what she's doing in the medical world isn't going to get her where she wants to go.
Yeah, I will say more of the general population are more open to things alternative than they were 15 or 20 years ago, by
Yes,
far. And even 30 years ago, my God, talking about essential oils 30 years ago, man,
you'd be,
it was
yes,
rough.
you'd be escorted out.
Right, it was pretty rough. You know. And
Okay.
and so you remember that woman you had come on, Cheryl, like the person I had worked on a long time ago.
Yes.
And so there's a perfect example, like kind of open, um knew some things, but anything beyond stress, like I don't know that, like I just kept the terminology always about stress.
Right.
And that worked for her brain. Even if I was doing other things, even if I was doing vagal tone work and stuff like that, I just always, the explanation was always about stress. And you know, she got very good results, but then we'd get into areas, even doing things like distant work. Her brain couldn't get that. Like she always had to be in front of me when I was
Right.
doing any sort of work. And so there's areas where she was very open, and then there was areas where it's not that she wasn't open, it's just it didn't make sense to her mind. She didn't
Yes.
have an experience to it. And so, you know, I always made a point of when I worked with her, I was always in person,
Okay.
always in person. And uh being able to assess that, like this is the areas that they're open, these are the areas where they're not. And then, you know, maybe they grow out of it, maybe they don't, doesn't matter. You just kind of work within their parameters, kind of so to speak.
Right. And I don't know. I've known this person for 3 years now, I think, something
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
that. And we've always had very good rapport. We've never talked about alternative healing until this week.
Hmm.
And I I don't want to over guess. So I'm playing it very cautiously and taking time at it and letting her ask questions that she has and being more general than specific.
And ask Kirk a lot of questions. Like, I would just like, kind of just probe the situation because, like sometimes there might be things that don't seem like associated, but they might be or something. And so, it kind of, even you asking her questions makes her observe her body, how we go like, okay, feel it in your body. Where do you feel it? Like early stage of that is going, tell me about your shoulder, tell me about your neck, tell me what happens with stress, like what happens, like tell me the worst part of your week, tell me, how is your sleep. You start
Okay.
doing that because then they have to start going, okay, I have to be aware of my body, I have to be aware of the things I do, I have to be aware of all these things. And that is like actually a very early stage of put your awareness on your body and just stay focused on it, and then like have it expand into something.
And that's interesting you say that. I'll follow that and ask her a bunch more questions and
Yeah.
to give a sense of her body. I sense that she's open, but this whole idea of being a body awareness would be like, huh? What are you asking me to do? It's not that she's
Right.
against it, it's that she
Right.
doesn't understand it, doesn't.
Yeah. You have to educate her on how her body feels.
Okay.
And do that with questions.
Yeah, just keep asking questions
Yeah.
about this
Yeah.
part, that part. Do you feel this? Can you feel that? And so on.
Right.
Oh, I see we have to go.
Yeah.
Uh, thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Let's continue this discussion at some point.
Sounds good.
Okay, everybody, we're going to jump over to the prayer petitions for Astara. Hope you had a good session tonight and a good Auric program. And tomorrow night we're doing the cultivation for the or
No, we're doing the Heart in the Thousand Petals
Heart in the
Lotus
Thousand Petaled Lotus. So
study group.
study group. So Wednesday night, and mystical practices are back, and the star practice is back. So hopefully you can join us.